If an immediate ban on the sale of petrol and diesel cars isn't going to be practical in the world's most populated country, perhaps it's time for a rethink.
Part 4. The Road Ahead.
My students and I, we sort of banned a few words. We try not to say all people will do this, and then very unwise to use the word never.
Our final expert witness is John Hayward from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the United States. He's written what's considered to be the book on the internal combustion engine, which powers petrol and diesel cars. His reaction to our question?
The car survives for a long time. Many cars have several owners. I think the average is about 3 before the car finally dies. The lifetime's about 15 years, and that's almost the same in almost all regions of the world. There's an awful lot of people drive an awful lot of vehicles. And so changing things quickly is just bound to take decades.
Some of your research is funded then by car manufacturers and the oil and energy industry. Some people might say that perhaps you have an interest in saying that the combustion engine isn't dead, that we will still see fuel cars sold in great numbers in the future.
Well, I get that question. We find that our technical and contacts with people in these industries, they know better to try and influence the outcome of research than I do at a place like MIT.
Lately, John Hayward's been focusing his research on how we can make our transport less polluting. He thinks we will stop buying diesel cars, the worst polluters. However, he's not convinced politicians will win the case for electric over petrol. They're talking about banning the sale of fuel-powered cars. Is that unrealistic to achieve by 2040 or 2050?
Well, my answer is we don't yet know the net positive over the long term.
Isn't the net positive that electric cars have zero emissions? We could make the pollution problems in so many of our cities much better.
Well, you cut down on local pollution at street level, yes. But in the net, where does the energy come from? What's the source of the electricity that's going into these vehicles? We've got to have a backup generating system so that the electricity supply is always secure. And that means it can't be completely green. Electric vehicles are the buzzword, and there's good reason, but it's oversold. Unfortunately, we human beings have trouble thinking of more than one thing at the same time. And so electric vehicles are the one thing we think about. But there are some other options.
Starting, John Hayward says, with the traditional fuel engine car. Number 1, tinker with it.
We can improve the technologies, the engines, the vehicles that we're using today. And we can do it quite a bit. We projected about a factor of 2 improvement in their fuel consumption going out to 2050.
You're saying that there's a real possibility that fuel engines could get more efficient?
Oh, I'm convinced they will get more efficient.
Number 2, he says, use them less. Number 3, find a new fuel.
I think we've really got to find a source of liquid fuels that, and it won't necessarily be one source like this kind of biomass or municipal waste or maybe algae. You know, there's lots of choices that are being explored. It's not clear which really have large-scale potential. But if we could find a much greener liquid fuel, then we could continue with our engines. It's not either or. They're going to share the market. It's going to be a mix, and hopefully the mix will get better. We want it to get better. I want it to get better.
It's a case, he says, of being realistic about how viable new car technology is and what people have come to expect from their cars.
It's not the public that's trying to change the engine. It's largely those who are guarding our environment and our politicians. And good for them. This is something we need to do. I'm not saying we shouldn't try. It's just that the solutions sitting around They're not certainties, not yet, and yet's a very important word.
Could we ban the sale of petrol and diesel cars now? With more than 1 billion cars on the road, an overnight ban would be so impractical as to be impossible. We'll have to wait years until the first government's act, and then years more until the last petrol and diesel cars finally leave the road. How far and fast we go with this is really up to us. We do want cleaner air, but we also want cars that can take us the whole distance. Once we have a taste of the open road and the freedom that comes with it, we're reluctant to give it back. The inquiry was presented by me, Ruth Alexander. The producers were Sandra Canthal and Serena Tarling.
Distribution of the BBC World Service in the U.S. is made possible by American Public Media, producer and distributor of award-winning public radio content. APM, American Public Media, with support from Kronos, helping businesses attract, retain, and engage employees through cloud-based human capital management. Kronos.com. Kronos, workforce innovation that works.
Looking to get your news fix for the day? Tune in to hear the latest in business.
If this impacts us, it's also going to impact the people that we hire, that we use for our construction projects. It's going to ripple on down
To what's happening in the arts.
I can't change the way I approach a given musical situation just because there's some bomb going off in Peshawar.
Wake up to the world with Morning Edition from NPR News.
Stay with us for Morning Edition this morning, 5 to 9 on News 88.9 KNPR.
You're listening to the BBC World Service with me, Ed Butler, where today we're looking at the President's new tax plan. Donald Trump's calling it the biggest tax cut in US history, restoring confidence and jobs. But a tax cut for who, exactly? We go through the numbers and ask if there's really a consensus in Washington to see the plan through. That's Business Daily in a couple of minutes.
BBC News with Jerry Smith. In the past hour, the United Nations has said that a planned visit to Rakhine State in Myanmar, where there's been a mass exodus of Rohingya Muslims, has been cancelled by the Burmese government. The UN spokesperson in Yangon told the BBC that no reason had been given for the cancellation. The UN has been pushing to visit Rakhine State to investigate the circumstances behind the flight of Rohingya Muslims that began a month ago. Scientists in China say they have performed a new and precious technique of gene editing on human embryos for the first time, opening up the prospect of preventing inherited diseases. Using a technique called base editing, they were able to remove a mutation in the DNA code which produces a blood disorder, beta thalassemia. The South Korean President Moon Jae-in says he will build up the country's defense capabilities as part of efforts to rid North Korea of its nuclear weapons. He said South Korea had to press on with enhancing its air and missile defense systems. Japan's parliament has been dissolved ahead of a snap election next month, called by the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. There are signs of improving support for Mr. Abe over his handling of the North Korea crisis. But a new political group called the Party of Hope, led by the governor of Tokyo, Yuriko Koike, is growing in popularity. Hugh Hefner, the founder of Playboy magazine, has died aged 91. He achieved instant success with glossy photographs of naked women. Hefner first published Playboy at home in his kitchen in 1953, with Marilyn Monroe as its first centerfold. Critics accused Hefner of reducing women to sexual objects. The sport of cricket, known for its keen adherence to the rules, is bringing in a series of new ones. From today, cricketers guilty of misconduct will be shown the red card and sent off, and there will also be new restrictions on the size of cricket bats. BBC News.
Hello there, I'm Ed Butler and welcome to Business Daily from the BBC. Coming up, President Trump unveils his long-promised tax reforms, but who's really going to profit?
For Trump himself, though, if you look at the business side, actually he himself could stand to benefit quite a lot from these tax reforms.
We examine these proposals in detail. We also hear new research revealing just how much the super rich are allegedly failing to pay in taxes.
They'll evade 10 times more